Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do, even though that's not what I have been tackling of late. My name is Jake, and tonight we are discussing ghosts, cops, and other spooky things. We're talking about things we might disagree with, and boy, I racked my brain. I decided we got to go outside of politics because, folks, I'm looking to disagree. By God, and I want to disagree with lefties because y'all are formidable opponents. I am no fun. I actually really enjoy ghost hunting, but not in the way I think the average ghost hunter enjoys it. I like proving things I suspect to be true. And I enjoy the act of searching for flaws in an argument, in a belief. So when I ghost hunt, what I'm looking for specifically is a frequency. I'm looking for 18.2 megahertz because that is a frequency that human beings usually aren't aware of when they're hearing it, but does cause feelings of paranoia, feelings like you're being watched, for example, and a lot of the mundane explanations for, or rather, a lot of the symptoms that people would attribute normally to a haunting. In honor of spooky season, I thought it might be fun to talk about ghosts and how much I don't think they exist in any way, shape, or form. Well, all right. How I don't think they exist in the way that people who say they believe in ghosts think they exist. But after that, I'd like to take the other side and talk about the way in which I do think ghosts exist and what the concept of a ghost is and yada, yada, yada. So let's get to it. Let me first start by being the negative Nancy and talking about how I don't believe in ghosts. Probably, I should put the banner up. Oh, well, first of all, I will put flattery on this screen. If you want your comment on the screen, make it a compliment to your old pal, Jake. And I'm going to put it on there. I'm a vain man. Jake's hair looks pretty today. I can give you the secret to that. First, you've got to start balding so that it has this nice, deep widow's peak, and then comb it. You let it grow long, too long, because you have to forget to go to the barber for about a month, and then comb it with the old turlet brush that you bought from the dollar store and realized it was closer to a brush than a scrubber, and so you just decided to use it as a comb and discovered that it works. Hair tips from your old pal Jake. Let's make that banner real quick. Hey, before we get started on that though, if you want to support the show, please do consider doing so at patreon.com/WYCD. It makes this possible. My rule is I can do this so long as I cover, this hobby covers its own expenses, and so please, you can make it happen by donating just $5 a month. That's the price of a cup of coffee. Shouldn't be, but it is. And for that, you can ensure that a rambling Lithuanian is able to continue minorly influencing politics. Let's take a moment and acknowledge people have, to my constant shock and delight, people have supported the Patreon and made this show possible, including Pinkerbell, Wicked Foxy Dragon, Sean Smith, Dustmite the Boomer, and Donald James X. Thank you all so much for making this possible. Donald James just signed up. My man, thank you, dude. I really appreciate it. It's touching, but I'll make it weird if I talk about it too much. So I'm just gonna play that down there. I don't want to f it up. I need this. I genuinely need this to keep the show going. So let's make a new banner. All right. The first thing that I'm going to ask you to disagree with, or to call in if you do disagree: ghosts aren't real. There are no ghosts, at least not in the sense that wicked on the come up, indeed. This is not a bad idea, by the way. We're going to talk about ghosts in a second, but actually, I want to break for a second and talk about this. I do think we need this. I've been seriously considering this. It is my own personal hell that I keep being the person in front of the camera. I would like not to do that for a news show. I would actually, if I had my say, I would have Galactic News Network be the producer and the anchor, and then I would have Rebecca Azor be do the journalism. Her and Matt Binder, I would want to be the reporters. But if I had a magic wand and a budget of about $30K a year, that's what I would do. I would hire those three as temps, and I would have that be the team. Because I do think what you're talking about here, the main thing being an evening news show on this space, as in news, not opinion. I think that is needed. But I also think you need somebody of Rebecca Azor's training and professionalism to be a journalist and to understand the difference between journalism and commentary. I think Rebecca Azor could do that, and I think GNN has the know-how to like put on a lengthy show. I just mean like in terms of the software program necessary to run it, and just the understanding of like the interest of an audience, how their interest waxes and wanes. So there it is. I think it's necessary. But yeah, if we can't find anybody to do it, I might try it myself. Ooh, also you need to do a promo piece that rewrites the old song. There's no business like show business. I know. There is no space like this space. No space I know. Fair enough. All right, let's get back to it. Ghosts are not real. Pinkerbell seems to be in agreement. I think that even though ghosts are not real, people have a very good reason to believe they might be. I believe that even though I don't think ghosts are real, there is evidence to suggest they are. It's just not it's not good evidence, as in when weighed against the evidence that they are not real. it is insufficient. So what's the evidence that they are real? Well, pictures, double exposed pictures. Sometimes people take a photograph and there appears to be another person in the photograph. Now, this doesn't really happen with digital cameras, but it used to happen a lot with film cameras. And if you existed in the days of film, even those disposable cameras you'd get from the CVS, you could sometimes take a picture and then, like, the previous picture might have been like you took a picture of your sister at her birthday, for example. You get a picture of your sister going like in front of a cake. Then you take a month later a picture of, let's say, your friend at a soccer game, and they're about ready to kick a ball. And then you go get those pictures printed eventually, back in the days where you would have to do that with a film camera. And you might see your friend going to kick a soccer ball, and then behind them, a woman going like, and that would be the picture that you took first. That picture of your sister at the birthday that got double printed. So it accidentally got like a ghostly image over the other picture. And if you didn't remember the order in which you had snapped photos and what was in that roll, especially in the days where you might gather pictures over the course of a year and then suddenly remember, oh, I'm going to go do that errand and print them. That might lead you to think, oh my God, I've captured a photograph. This soccer field is haunted. That's evidence. It's I'm giving an example where it's easily disproven because in this example, I've listed where it came from. But that's this like if you saw a ghostly visage in a photo, that is evidence, and that's a reasonable reason to think, oh wow, ghosts are real. But as I've just said, perfectly mundane explanation. More reason people think ghosts are real. They'll see, and more evidence that ghosts are real. You'll see an orb. In fact, it's one of the most commonly cited types of ghosts is just an orb. And these really got started being reported in the days of cameras. And the reason why is because now it's also a commonly UFOs are often referred to as orbs, or mistaken as these same things. Uh, it's actually a known thing when you're looking at a lot of these claimed images of ghosts caught on camera, caught on tape, video. Uh, the ghost will seem to appear as an orb of light and then disappear, or flicker in and out of existence, or move very quickly, get very big and very small. And oh my gosh, nothing moves like that. Actually, yes, plenty of things move like that. Specifically, uh, dust. Because what an orb normally turns out to be is just some dust passing through the light. So a camera pointing at a thing, a light usually on the camera, pointing straight forward. And when a mote of dust flies into the light's path, it reflects the light back to the camera. It's usually very close. And so when it drifts in and out, not unlike my hands here, oh, do I have gigantic hands? Are my hands moving super fast? No, they're just very close to the camera because they have to be because the camera's right at the desk. So, I mean, obviously, of course, I'm in a huge studio. I mean, I'm in the Wicked television studio, but the secondary desk camera is quite close. So that is what those are. Orbs. It's just dust motes capturing light. So why these are reasons you might believe that ghosts are real and not be a crazy person. The problem is, not unlike ET, Or excuse me, not unlike UFOs, not unlike Bigfoot. Want to talk about that again in a moment. Uh, Not unlike the Loch Ness monster, not unlike vampires. People are desperately searching for these things. People desperately want these things to be true. Do you know how badly I want there to be actual translucent flying around the atmosphere ghosts? So bad. Dude, so bad. And it doesn't even have anything to do with a desire for an afterlife. Although separately, I would love to discover that there's an afterlife. It's just purely for the scientific marvel it would be. For the new branch of science, necromancy, which would immediately open up. I mean, my god, I guess it would be necrology, we would call it. But yes, I want there to be ghosts. Oh my gosh, do I want there to be ghosts? Just for the interest alone, just for how interesting it would be. But are ghosts real? No, because we've been looking. We've really been trying. We desperately want ghosts to be real. Most people want, I think, ghosts to be real. And we have been searching, and there have been whole television shows who pay a full staff of people to, as best they can, search for the mothers. And we don't find them because there's nothing to find. There is an issue where people will study vague readouts, or they will do vague experiments. Oh, we're going to do an EMF reading. We're going to measure a bunch of room temperature and look for cold spots. And basically, ghost hunting is important to understand because the scam that keeps professional ghost hunters going for whole careers without having to actually find anything, it's the same scam that's run in other parts of our life. And I don't think I have to point out directly what I'm talking about. I think you'll get it. But basically, they allow for tons of information to flood the zone. And they will flood the zone with nonsensical information that doesn't help anybody understand what's going on. Ooh, the temperature of the room. Ooh, the EM spectrum. Ooh, this, that, and the other thing. And they will have so much evidence that they pile in front of your eyes that no part of it means anything, but they'll keep squinting at it until they come up with a story that might suggest that maybe there was a ghost in the room. It's scamming, and people who are professional ghost hunters who do it for a long time, for the most part, are con artists because you can only go to so many homes, so many haunted hotels, so many graveyards before you have to acknowledge that in the entirety of your career, you have come up with no credible evidence of a haunting. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe there is credible evidence. If so, let's find out here. You have the advantage of my ignorance. So we'll look it up together and I'll lose my pen, but I do have backups and we'll get this thing done. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say. Doodly doodly doo. Ooh. Jake, have you looked into Victorian era ghost photography? It's really cool how they fake photos. Interesting that you mentioned that. Hold on a second. I am a trans being, a trans-dimensional being. I have to disappear into the void. Ugh. Sorry, I had to cease existing for a second. I have not, and I'd be fascinated to see how they do that, if only to understand early film techniques. But it's interesting that you mentioned the Victorian era because that was a huge era for con artists. And I don't think that it is, I don't think that it's I think there's something there that we should understand now to help us survive this moment and going forward. So, I think our let's not mention it directly, but the things I normally talk about, that part of American life, I think there's a lot of similarities between charlatans who prey on people's spirituality and that. And in the Victorian era, interestingly, you were having the rise of naturalists. Basically, the first ever scientists were coming to be, and they were starting to be respected. It wasn't just that a scientist was an educated man or woman. It was that when they said things, those things often turned out to be true. They were like shamans, except it actually worked. This is just before you had people like Jon Snow figuring out, no, not that one. Figuring out, yes, that one. Figuring out which where the source of cholera was coming from, for example, where the sources of diseases were by looking at data. He was just being a city planner, basically, um, an early version. Um, but at the same time, as you had this enlightenment coming to the world and spreading universally throughout the leftist culture, by the way, spreading throughout the world, you had the rise of charlatans and people that were trying to offer equally or greater extreme things, but from the side of just pure lies. Oh, no, no, no. I know that person can cure your disease, but I can contact your dead aunt. You had the rise of charlatans. I don't know why, but at the same time that science advances, that human knowledge increases, human disinformation also increases. And I think con artists just sort of take advantage of the era. If it's an era of discovery, they will flood the zone with false discoveries. So when you say Victorian era ghost photography, it totally makes sense to me that that would be a big trend, partially because photography was just invented and we fucking love ghosts, but also during the time, spiritualism, which would have been called paganism in even more conservative areas, was on the rise. And it's worth I think examining that era to figure out how we get out of it. Because the people who are anti-vax now would have been pro-ghost in the 1800s, would have been pro-spiritualist. They would have all hired a medium and had a house party where they convinced themselves they were talking to dead relatives. All of them would be that. How did they get out of that? Well, people like Houdini, who did not allow his friends to stay ignorant. And then more modernly, people like James Randi, basically, who just go around and spoil the days of charlatans. I think that's important. I think that is important to do. I do not believe in ghosts. I don't think they're real. Do you? If you do, consider calling in. There is a pinned comment in the YouTube video or in the description on YouTube or Twitch of this video. There is a link that will take you right, Chow, to tell me why I'm wrong. I don't think ghosts are real. I've seen no credible evidence. There have been people who have spent their whole careers looking and have not found anything to prove that. Groove Dragon, whoa! How about combing a news show, combining a news show with a call-in show after? Have people call? Oh, have people calling about the news you just delivered. Take one call on each news story, giving you a chance to expound. Also, react. That's a really good idea. Groove Dragon, you might want to consider becoming an executive producer. You'd have to first be a producer, and that's less fun if you don't like clicking things a lot. But that, as an executive producer, that's a great pitch for a show. That's a realistic pitch for a show on top of sounding entertaining. I like it. I don't want to commit to it now because I'm live and you don't tend to think very good when you're live or think about the downsides of things. But gosh dang, a new show that then turns into a call-in show is a really good idea. Shit. That's a good idea. I'm gonna mull on that for a while. 18% of atheists believe in ghosts, says Legends of Sean. I believe that. I'm surprised, but I believe it. I'm mildly disappointed, but I believe it. I don't think it's necessary to believe in one specific supernatural thing in order to believe in another. So I guess it makes sense to me that 18% of people that don't necessarily believe there's an all powerful deity do believe, though, that there is a, let's call it a spiritual residue after one dies. Now, I will say this: while I don't believe ghosts are real, I also do slightly believe ghosts are real. I'll explain that later. But for the most part, if asked directly, I would say no. There is there's just no evidence that such a thing exists. Hey, I take that back. There is evidence, but the totality of it says that it's very unlikely. And I'm saying that as a man who appreciates science. When I say very unlikely, I mean it is more likely, in my opinion, that we will all suddenly become pasta than we will discover that ghosts are real. Again, neither thing is impossible. We could all become a lovely manicotti in the next 5 seconds. Okay, good. Uh, not a 0% chance of anything is what I'm saying. I just think there's a very, 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 very small chance that ghosts are real. We'll all find out about that one day eventually. That's true. We will have a definite answer eventually. Cue the prepper bucket hats. Oh, I'm so behind. Jake live streams Bloody Mary in the mirror. Yes, I could totally do that. Yeah, Latino Mufune putting it well. Atheism is not the same as rejecting all supernatural claims. It's just a lack of belief in gods. Yeah, absolutely. And some might even argue it's a lack of belief in certain types of gods. That there are creator gods, for example. But off topic, off topic. You are correct. And I took us off topic. I'll try to steer us back. Latino Mufune ain't afraid of no ghosts. Qualified to be a ghostbuster. He has the main skill set down. So ghosts aren't real. I do not think that there is enough evidence. Although that's not to say there isn't evidence, but it's worth pointing out that the evidence we have consistently there is explanations for other things. There's other explanations rather, and it turns out basically every time when looked at close enough, it turns out that we're just putting the old story of ghosts onto various phenomena we come across. Sort of like how every time we see something in the sky, our first assumption is aliens, the thing it's never turned out to be. And then we start saying, "Oh, look, it might have been a weather balloon. Oh, look, a flock of birds. Oh, look, it was a hot air balloon that got blown off course or whatever." First, we assume the thing it's never ever been, and then it gets eventually disproven by one of the many things it's turned out to be in the past. For example, I mentioned how ghosts sometimes appear on camera in various ways, a translucent image or a ball of light. But then I walked through what those usually turn out to be. It was the translucent image ghosts tended to disappear around the time that we stopped using film in cameras regularly and switched over to digital cameras. Well, because most of the translucent ghosts were double prints of film. The balls of light tend to appear in places with cheaper security cameras. Why? Because they have a light right above the security camera. And because the balls of light are almost certainly dust motes that are being lit up as they pass by the lens. But there's more evidence. Did you know that humans can be, if you scan a human, you can detect an EM field around them? It's true. Actually, it's a particle field around humans. Yeah. So humans generate and are surrounded by electromagnetic fields. And once upon a time, I set an alarm for 5:30 a.m., slept through it, and then discovered just now that it was actually set for 5:30 p.m., thus solving the mystery. Not unlike our ghost issue. So, yeah, humans, I'm not joking. I'm a full skeptic when I'm telling you that humans have an EM field around them. And they also have a field of particles that we could not figure out for the longest time until eventually we tried showering before pictures were taken. And suddenly we couldn't find the field. We couldn't find that particle field that surrounded people. Well, it turns out us nasty, greasy swine have skin flakes and dirt that sloughs off us and sweat that evaporates off us. And if you have a sensitive enough camera, you can pick up the nasty, greasy sweat particles that slough off. So basically, when people were getting these images of themselves and taking very specific photos of what we thought for a couple of months in the mid 2010s might have been our spiritual energy measured Saiyan style, Frieza Force style. In fact, was just measuring how long it had been since we'd taken a shower. We keep coming across mundane explanations for something that we really don't want to have be mundane. I've been told I have a sparkling personality. Does that count? Absolutely. We tried to measure Foxy's charisma in a Vitomatic charisma tester, and she broke the machine. Pigpen photography. Yeah, basically. Here's another true thing. We are also a little radioactive, particularly if you enjoy bananas. So we emit low levels of electrons, helium nucleus, and light. Now that's something spooky and true. We do admit we emit light. Isn't that weird? But it is true. It's not really detectable by our eyes, but we're doing it. It's measurable. In addition, we are striped. Did you know that? Did you know humans are striped? This does relate to ghosts, I swear. One second. I'm going to show you a picture of a striped human being. Under UV light. Otherwise, it's nonsensical. Doodly doo doo. We have a pattern on our body, which is called piebald. I believe. In horses, we would call it piebald. This will do fine. Oh, perfect. All right. Forgive me while I switch to my display screen. Share this screen. So we have this chalk. Oh my gosh. This has been done poorly. We have this here. We have a piebald pattern under UV light. I mean, obviously intense UV light, and most of the human beings do not have stripes that are visible to human eyes. But facts are the facts. There are truths of our world which are right in front of our eyes, but we are not able to see. And sometimes we invent technologies that expose more of those truths. And sometimes they uncover facts which only deepen the mysteries of the world. For example, why the fuck are we striped? How are we striped? What? Weird that turns out to be true. It does not, however, mean that all of it is true. It does not, however, mean that our traditional folk explanations for things are correct. A mystery, in and of itself, does not mean that the supernatural is true. Who needs a special energy field when you have Riz? Yeah, if you don't have the special energy field, odds are you have Riz on account of the fact that you've showered recently. Our naked senses are blind to most of the light spectrum. True. My fascist brother posts orbs from his Ring camera all the time on Facebook. Do mention the dust thing, because that's what it is. He's measuring dust mites. Also, if your brother is fascist and he is very interested in the supernatural, I don't think you're wrong to note that those two things might be related. In fact, I think they are. And it's possible that the fascism does not come from anger necessarily, so much as boredom or a sense of helplessness. You might consider offering him projects. It won't seem, I know you probably aren't chatting very much these days. Um, but we do have to chat with these folks that are on the other side, if only so that they understand who we are better. You might not need to change them yourself, but you should help them understand who we are and what we believe, so that when their side says harm should come to us, it's clear who they're talking about to the people they're trying to convince. But what you might want to do with your brother here is give him something else to work on that he actually can make progress with. Um, Build a battle bot together, or study something that is worth studying. Study something that's real, or maybe go ghost hunting with him. Go. I frequently. This is not a gag. I used to fish without bait, and then I switched to fishing without even a hook. And I will tie a washer to the end of a line and throw it in the water. I just like throwing a string in water at this point. I don't wanna catch a fish. It breaks my heart to catch a fish, but I miss fishing, so I do that. Do that if you gotta. But spend time with your brother and consider teaching him to flex the scientific method. Miss Blue Ocean, aka Sandy from Environmental Coffee House, aka back from banishment. She beat the ban. Good for you, Sandy, and hello. Wicked Foxy Dragon. I was just about to say dust mites matter too. Well, absolutely. Oh, hey, Sandy. I have no energy, no energy to chat, but I have energy to watch one of these days. No show tonight, but I'm here for yours. Well, thank you, Sandy. Enjoy the show. And I think we should, honest to God, become lazier, Sandy. I a revelation I've had of late is that all progressives will burn ourselves out at the first possible opportunity, if given one. We will work ourselves to death and accomplish nothing in the process. We will work together to find a way to conserve energy. Thank you for hanging out, my friend. And we'll figure out more efficient ways to change the world. Since I was just talking about how you could yeah, just avoid talking politics. Yeah, what I do with my family is there are certain topics and issues I don't discuss. We have a mutual understanding. Just avoid talking politics. Do that, man. If you're feeling like you could hang out with your brother and not talk politics, say, "Look, man, I miss you, brother mine. I miss you. I don't want to talk politics because politics sucks. And frankly, I don't think helps anybody right now. You know what I would love to do with you? I would love to hunt ghosts and teach the scientific method as you hunt ghosts. Teach critical thinking as you hunt ghosts. When your brother posts that picture of orbs, say, I don't consider this evidence because those to me look exactly like particles of dust flying in front of the camera. But if you feel that area is haunted, if you've seen other evidence, let's go examine it. Let's set up some equipment. Let's tie a washer to a fishing string, and sit by the creek together and chat about life. Catch up. Oh yeah, that's right. We'll be measuring the empty field outside your house. We'll measure the hell out of it. We'll do infrared scans. We'll we'll just keep measuring until you find something that I can't definitely say isn't a ghost, and that'll be huge for you. And you might even get huge in the ghost hunting community. And I will not acknowledge that it could be a ghost, but hell, maybe I will. Have fun with it. And you can teach skepticism as you engage in an unskeptical thing, I suppose, in an endeavor that is normally seen as the opposite. Legend of Sean. Jake tried to have a headline about fratricide in a northern Ohio newspaper. Fair enough. How close are you to Cleveland? You're probably not far from my sister. I believe in paranormal phenomenon. Fascinating and awesome. Because I'll switch gears in a moment. I'm willing to make the case for ghosts, and I was about to, but I have made the case against ghosts so far. The case against, and if I'm honest with you, uh, move. Yeah. If I'm honest with you, what I sincerely believe, like if asked, what do I think is most likely, I would say ghosts are not real. But I'm not so arrogant as to preclude the possibility entirely. Oh, if only out of respect for science, man. Um, so we talked about why I don't believe that pictures of ghosts are real with the decline of the very clear images of ghosts going away, or rather, the decline of the very clear images of ghosts right around the time we stopped using film in cameras because we stopped getting double prints. Dust mites in front of cameras being the very common way to describe seeing ghosts, etc. But it's not to suggest that there is absolutely positively no room for some sort of energy existing after life, some sort of will existing in an intangible form after life. In fact, I can prove without a doubt that by those standards, existing as energy after you've died, I will prove to you all, there's 15 people watching here, 15 of you will agree with me that that in fact does happen. And it's a question of what we call that thing. Donald James X, I just don't think ghosts are alive or conscious. Crucial right there. Conscious. Even though there might seem like there's evidence for that. So, Donald James X, here's the weird thing. You and I actually do have the same opinion, after all. Because everybody who's a skeptic here, remember what I said. Existing after death in an intangible form. Donald James further saying, I just don't think ghosts are alive or conscious. I agree. Here's what you will all agree with now, even if you are a skeptic. Let's say you made a Facebook profile. Let's say you exist anywhere online and you build a profile and then you die. Does your profile automatically delete? Nope. No, it does not. But it's you in an intangible form. It is the echo of all the things you liked. It is your permanent imprint across various algorithms. It still affects the way things happen in the world. Let's say you are part of a subscription service and Hulu takes $15 a month out of your bank account. That's going to keep going until your bank account is drained or your family cancels all of your subscriptions. It might not be satisfying to think of yourself as a digital ghost, but you leave a wake. You leave an imprint of yourself that carries on, whether it was intentional or not. The things you are set to automatically order still get ordered. Even though you are deceased, you are still counted amongst their customers. Your tastes still affect things. The number of people who are subscribed to a channel. If you pass away, but you're subscribed to a channel, you make that thing you are subscribed to more popular, even though you are deceased. It's not the same thing as a box full of your possessions in a closet somewhere, because it is your will reflected. You understand? It's not just your things, but it is your personality carried on as an echo of itself. That undeniably exists. You may say it's unsatisfying to call that a ghost. In fact, it's misleading to call that a ghost. And I'd mostly agree. But you can't deny the fact that you have what is essentially an interactive tombstone after your death. I used to, as a form of therapy, message my friend who died in a car accident. It was a sad little boy thing to do, but it's a thing that I did. And uh, I would doubt that that is a very uh, unique thing, let's say. I think that's probably something a lot of folks do, in which case you cannot deny that it is people talking to the dead. The dead can't hear them, but the dead do take their messages. It does go to their inbox. And freaky enough, since the days of answering machines, you could have an auto reply from the dead. Now with AI, it's not inconceivable that over the course of your life, you are building your digital ghost. And I'll also say it is possible that that exists on a spiritual level somewhere. I have no way to measure spiritual energies of any sort. I don't think, frankly, they exist. But I must acknowledge that if they do exist, if it turns out there is such a thing as souls, if it turns out that there's just an unknown energy that permeates us that we will discover later, which hey, we didn't know about the existence of radiation 200 years ago. So who's to say what we'll know in 200 years? It's possible that a thing such as our digital ghosts is created over the course of our life through other means. You can create a digital will that will execute upon death. Absolutely. MySpace is a digital graveyard. Agreed. I think we should all make MySpace accounts. I like MySpace because it has existed and it has not been a success in terms of capitalism. And I actually think we could just take it over. Like one popular group could utterly change that site. Like if a bunch of progressives flooded it and like a million progressives made accounts, it would just become a progressive hangout place. I think we should strongly consider that. My mom is memorialized, says Wicked Foxy Dragon. I like that. Oh, sometimes you have to set it up that way. My mom's memorialized. I think that's lovely. I do quite, you know, it's sad to be left with only pictures. But it's convenient that we have sites now where people can put all the pictures of themselves. Because when you get sad, it's sometimes nice to go through pictures. I look at pictures of my dog, Benny B. Um, it still hurts, honestly, but they are every time I upload a thumbnail to this channel, I look at his picture, and it's a sweet hurt. Um, I think it is good that that is happening. And I think it is good that we are making our own digital ghosts, if only to comfort our loved ones. Facebook actually has a button you can click to delete if Facebook is provided with a death announcement. Yeah, fair enough. Oh, Jesus, Pink, I'm sorry. When my brother died, his wife would sometimes log into his Facebook and post as if it were written by him, which nearly turned me into a ghost the first time I saw her do that. Yeah, that's effed up. That's effed up. I'm sure it came from a place of love, but oh, misguided. Really not a good idea. Goats are not real. That's true. That's true. They are an invention of the Spanish. My dad's ashes, says Donald James X. I'm sorry, we've had so much loss here. Were put into several small vials. My brothers and sisters, oh, thank God. My brothers and sister wear it as a necklace. I think that, and so do I. Yeah, I think that's rad. I would love to be jewelry. I would love to be made into like a ring. If trans-empirical objects exist, we have no evidence that they affect the observable world, so speculating about them won't provide us with a reliable way of navigating the world. Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know what a trans-empirical object is, to be fair, but I assume it means ghost stuff. And here's the thing: maybe they don't. Uh, uh, maybe we haven't found a way to measure them yet. Maybe they don't even exist. If trans-empirical objects exist. If. Maybe they don't even exist. But I think even if they don't exist, it is useful to hunt for ghosts or big feet or Loch Ness monsters uh, in and of itself. In the same way it is useful, as I advocate for, to try to colonize other planets. I don't think we're going to get there. Well, I don't think we're going to get there in my lifetime, but I expect to see benefits from the attempt in my lifetime. Similarly, I don't think these objects do exist, but hunting for them helps us learn how to think critically. The sincere pursuit of these things helps us learn how to think critically. Whereas if you have people that just measure a room until they have a piece of equipment malfunction and then they can swarm that data and shove that data in your face, that tells you a bit about how to think poorly. But your point is that even if they do exist, we couldn't measure them. So why speculate about them? Well, I don't agree that we couldn't ever measure them. I think we couldn't measure radiation until we could. We couldn't measure level of bacteria infection until we could. We couldn't measure the length of the universe or the solar system until we could. We couldn't measure the circumference of the world until we could. We will eventually figure it out if it exists, because humans are probably the most impressive thing that the universe has ever come up with. I know. That's a pretty humanist, arrogant thing to say. Where's the fucking lie? Humans are the most impressive thing the universe has come up with. It might have been life in general, but humans specifically take the cake. We are transplanetary creatures, the first ever, as far as anyone knows. We've landed things on other planets. We've walked on other planetoids. We can live underwater even though we don't have gills. We can fly through the air even though we don't have wings. We are incredibly impressive, and if ghosts are real, we will have them in a box like that. We got your Dan Aykroyds and your Bill Murrays. Donald James X, there's my outlandish ideas that I kind of keep to myself, and there is the practical, down to earth side that I also think about. Yeah. I think it's good to have both elements of yourself. I think it is good to be able to consider outlandish ideas, and then it is good to keep one foot in the land of the practical and the doable. It's kind of how my politics was formed. My instinct is to be libertarian. Frankly, when I just heard what libertarian was, I was like, oh yeah, that's me. I think there should be as little telling people what they can do with themselves as possible. But then there's the practical down to earth thing. Well, if you're going to be a politician or support a kind of politics, you ought to make some laws. And a libertarian making laws, telling people what to do, well, shoot, it's not very practical. So that informed my politics, and I think, yeah, it's true with anything. It's good to have outlandish ideas, to consider outlandish ideas rather, but also to keep a foot in the practical side. Latino Mufune, there's a difference between a trans-empirical object and an object we just don't have the tools to observe yet. So let me look up that phrase. Empirical object. Okay. A trans There we go. A trans-empirical object, according to the internet, is refers to something beyond ordinary experience or knowledge, transcending the limits of what can be directly sensed or studied empirically. Yeah, but what I'm saying is it is that until you develop the means to study, in which case you study it. And yeah, then it ceases to be a trans-empirical object because now it's an empirical object. But there were many a thing that would have been classified as trans-empirical beforehand. Giant squid, trans-empirical. We can't get to the bottom of the ocean to look for it. Oh, wait, now we can. Empirical. Storms on the sun, trans-empirical. It's a theory only, but we couldn't possibly get a camera or any sort of equipment that could study that ball of radiation. Oh, wait, now we can. Now it's not trans-empirical. So on and so forth. I think they don't throw in the towel just because we can't yet win. We will, if it exists, we will find a way to study it. Otherwise, it doesn't exist, in which case, fuck it, we'll still study it. Hell, we'll study things that are just hypothetical. We've done that. We have whole branches of science now. I am so fully on the side of humanity in terms of who to root for, uh, and who I think is going to come out on top in basically anything, including figuring out if the ethereal is real. HBX, yeah, we've recently had funding to WYCD. Pinkerbell's begun selling boxes through us. We have an Etsy. She has an Etsy shop, and we're they're boxes shaped to look like cake, and they are empty calories, but the same as standard cake. And that means we're able to do things a little bit nicer, able to afford the desk, the couch, the studio space, the mafia bribes. Excuse me, I'm sorry, the triad bribes for this part of town. I looked it up myself, so I guess I agree with that, but it's not a serious grounded discussion anyways. Like, I have my own ideas of what Bigfoot is because it's not grounded in proof. Then my theory is as good as anybody's theory. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'm right there with you, brother. And also, you're right. Like, it's not serious. But that's kind of why I think talking about this stuff is useful in a similar way to sci-fi. You can write about the Earth sometimes easier when you're writing about a different planet, Sometimes it's easier to talk about Vietnam when you are setting the action on the Death Star instead of Laos. Sometimes it's easier to talk about critical thinking when you're talking about hypothetical beings as opposed to politicians who are lying to you. How can we figure out whether or not Bigfoot is true? Instead of how can we figure out whether or not the Jews are secretly conspiring to get you or the gays have a nefarious plot? How do we find out what's true? I have lost the ability to spell anymore. Yeah, dude, me too. I fucking between autocorrect working when it's not supposed to and not working when it is supposed to, I basically can't read my own notes. And the notes I handwrite, I just know the way I misspell words. So I only recognize the words like that. I have never once gotten an I before E correct, I feel like. I never know which one it is. Because there's exceptions, and I always get it wrong. And I wrote for a living once upon a time. English language is not fucking kind, dude. It's all memorization. It's basically like kanji, the Japanese writing system. It's nonsense. I think we should just start it all over. I write martial arts. Whoa, yes, and urban fantasy, dude. A martial arts. Dude, I love Big Trouble in Little China. I please link some of your books at some point. Go in the Discord and link some of your books. I don't even know authors that write that shit. I would eat that up, please. I write martial arts and urban fantasy for exactly the same reason. Allegory is a great tool for making people think about reality in ways they may find too emotionally challenging in other contexts. Hell yeah. Oh my God, Groove Dragon. Yes. Literally, the only cell phone number I still know is my mother's cell phone number because that was the only number I knew before I had a cell phone. So, so I could my own wife once upon a time when I was married, I couldn't have told you what her number was. Also, cell phones have wiped my ability to remember phone numbers. It's shocking. And also they've destroyed my ability to know directions to places. I don't know the names of most of the streets I use. I know how to get there if I've been there a couple of times, but I couldn't tell somebody else how to get there because I don't know the names of the streets because I'm just using the map thing. The Venom Squad. I just watched a martial arts film last night. Those guys are freaking talented. The Venom Squad. Question for the audience. I think we've talked about ghosts enough. First of all, I want to thank Patreon supporters. You guys are the reason I am able to do this. And if it becomes anything of value, you will be the reason for that. I want to thank the entirety of our support right now. It comes from Pinkerbell, Wicked Foxy Dragon, Sean Smith, Dust Mite the Boomer, and Donald James X. Sorry, I didn't. That's you on Patreon, not on YouTube. So, but anyway, Donald James X, Dust Mite the Boomer, Sean Smith, Wicked Foxy Dragon, and Pinkerbell. Thank you, sincerely. You guys have been supporters, most of you this whole time, and I'm shocked that you're still supporters. But I hope to be worthy of your confidence. But let's talk about non ghost related things. Ooh. Whoops. Pop that. Nope. Pop that back up. Yeah, so what is your favorite martial arts film? Poll in the audience. What is it? Maybe not your favorite. What is a excellent martial arts film? For example, I would say Rumble in the Bronx. Absolutely. Phenomenal. The remake of Legend of the Drunken Master, another Jackie Chan movie, phenomenal. I would say any of the Ip Man films, Ip Man films, phenomenal martial arts movies. Master of the Flying Guillotine. If you like old school Shaw Brothers, like 70s era kick ass things. Master of the Flying Guillotine. Very good. Legend of the One-Armed Boxer. Tippity Top martial arts action. Another Shaw Brothers movie. Ricky-O, hell yeah. Strangling motherfuckers with intestines. This was basically Grappler Baki before Grappler Baki. Ricky-O. Very, very good. Yeah, anything Jackie Chan does is fantastic. I agree, Donald James X. To me, Jackie Chan is one of, um, I would say, the best entertainers the Earth has ever produced. And I'm not saying that facetiously or to exaggerate. I mean literally. In terms of like, if you're judging who's the Michael Jordan of making 90 minutes of interesting content, Jackie Chan's that guy for me. And it is so much so, in fact, let's see if I still have it here. Yeah. It's so much so that I have a GIF just ready to go of one of my favorite Jackie Chan moments, which is to say, Jackie reassuring his crew that he's all right after a stunt gone awry. Jackie Chan, one of the best artists ever produced by the earth. What in the hell? Personally, I like Legendary Weapons of China. Lau Kar Lung, the goat. Gordon Liu, Pai Mei and Kill Bill, another goat. Interesting. For wuxia films, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Iron Monkey are good choices. Yeah, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is one of those movies that is not overrated. It's highly rated, but it is not overrated. It is especially if you're new to martial arts flicks. That's a great one to watch. Why do I like martial arts flicks? Uh they tell a story in the same way musicals sometimes tell a story. They tell a story through means other than dialogue. So you could have something as simple as like honor. How honorable is a character? If they're going block, 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 hit, and the person they hit stumbles, and then they raise their fist for another hit, but they stop. Oh, this person's a little bit merciful. You learn this about the character during the course of a fight. Oh, they had one up on their opponent, but they pulled back. Now you know a little bit in just 3 or 4 frames. You know a little bit more about the character. You can do that and tell a whole complex story just through choreography. And at the same time, you're watching essentially live stunts. Well, no, that's wrestling live, but you're watching human beings do stunts. So it's a phenomenal thing. The reference frame, not going to lie, I don't like martial arts movies. Well, if you ever decide to try to get into them again, I would say that is the reference frame to watch them from. You're not necessarily watching the action to thrill yourself, although it is thrilling sometimes to see, and I enjoy that part of it as well. But it a good one doesn't just use the action to fill space, but it uses the action to communicate plot points in the way a comedy would sometimes, or a musical would use the musical part to tell you about the characters. A good martial arts movie uses martial arts as a means to communicate elements of the story that would otherwise be awkward to do through through dialogue. I actually just had an idea, a strangely informative piece of content that I think you might enjoy. Warcraft Panda trailer is what I typed in. I'm gonna have to mute this. Ooh, oh boy. Oh no. Oh, this is just sad. Here we go. All right. So you see fighting is happening here. And the ships that are fighting each other crash. Yeah. Oh, look. A monster from one of the ships washes onto shore. No dialogue yet. Ah, look. A human from the other ship. He's fashioned a weapon and he's going to try to survive as well. The battle continues, you see, on this island that they have washed upon. Go down real quick. All right, jumping ahead. So you're learning about these two. Oh, they're still fighting. One's brutal, one's calculating, but they appear to be equally matched. So in this combat right now, you're learning about both of them. See that moment right there. He gets kicked away. Boom, boom, falls down, spits, gets back. He's determined. They're both of them took a shot just then, so it established they're equally matched. They're both armed with what are they armed with? Whatever they can get their hands on. So it's that kind of a fight. They're desperate. They're evenly matched. Their clothes are torn up. The costuming is telling you about who these people are. He is also a very dignified person. Maybe that's some kind of a ship's captain. And the fighting is interrupted. Now, they are using improvised weapons. What is this that's interrupting? They don't know yet. You have the same perspective they do. Wait a minute. Look what he just held up. He just held up the weapon that he improvised, that he tore off of the local architecture. So you as a member of the audience, I'm not asking you to like martial arts film. I'm just explaining why people like martial arts films. You as a member of the audience are subconsciously reminded, oh, he's been disrespecting this area. Oh, these people are intruders to this area. Oh, there's a mysterious thing. Bada boom. They both take a whack at it, but you see they are outmatched. You see the ease with which this person is beating the Jim Caviezel out of him. He's replaced his you're told now about the motivation there. He catches the weapon improvised, replaces it to where it was. So now you know a little bit about who this person is, even though not a word has been said. They are tougher than these two interlopers, and they are presumably the caretaker of this area. Now look at the reaction of these people who are getting their asses handed to them that were just fighting a moment ago. Captain hands over a weapon to the monster, and they both team up in that moment. They set aside their differences to take on the superior opponent, and then they get their asses handed to them. You learn a lot about what's going on here, who these people are, what their motivations are, everything through just a fight scene. I think martial arts movies are beautiful for that reason. It's an opportunity. It's you know what? It's basically musicals for rowdy kids. Well, musicals are musicals for rowdy kids, but it's less dainty versions of musicals. Martial arts films, wonderful, wonderful thing. The monster. We know Jake played Dirty Racist Alliance, and wow, I absolutely did. Human Paladin, motherfucker. You think I was just wandering through the sepulcher as a tourist? No, I was devastating that place. I was burning you out of your filthy homes because the Horde is evil. Alliance, good guys. Alliance for life, motherfucker. Blood elves can smite. Orcs can smite. The fucking bowl people can suck every inch of my. Trolls are all right. I also played a troll. I was also in the Horde. Never played a blood elf. Couldn't stomach it. Could not stand blood elves. Back in the day. Check your Discord. Okay. Yo! Good call. I got to I have to keep it muted. No, maybe I don't. You know what? We're going to take the gamble. I just want to see how this turns out. Oh my oh, my mouth stopped for a second. That was nerve-wracking. Let's check this out.
I
Love the
Radio.
the clothes,
I leave it up
wrapping
to
up.
you.
This looks like it was filmed in the 2000s. No way he was the first of anything. Well, it could just be a remaster because that's very old school filming technique. Woo! All right, let's just stop for a second. What are you learning about these people? What do you immediately know? It's not just the white cowboy hat, dark cowboy hat thing. It's the dude. The dude in the white is fighting unarmed against a person who is armed. So you understand more about how honorable he is. Also, how effing good he is. He's good enough to tangle barehanded. Oh, he's pressing this guy. Oh, he's really pressing him. He's out strengthening him. Uh-oh. Woo! So it's strength versus sneakiness. That's the fight we're dealing with. And it just speaks to the character of who these dudes are. Oh! Oh, yeah. Get in there. Come on now. Oh, okay. So, big martial arts trope here. So he's going, but then, no, I'm changing my mind. It's telling you, that's using acting to tell you this person's a calculating type. This person is a thinker. It's one of the beauties of this genre. And that's a fun trope. Oh, now he's getting serious. The bad guy has earned his full. I hate that though. Has earned his full attention, or at least more of his attention. I think this is a remaster because that's a very old school thing. No, wait, I'm going to change my mind. Yeah, this should do it, and then goes back to exactly what it was before. That's not good choreography. As a fan of these things, I say that. Whoop! Almost stabbed your gut there. Whoop! Ayo! Woo! So, in 1970s-ish speak, that was supposed to be scary because your fingers like that in film speak are supposed to be like blades, kind of. I don't know why. There. Well, I guess because in actual karate, if you do that, it's called a tiger claw. But it's not actually meant to have the effect of a tiger claw. It's just raking the eyelids. Also known as eye gouging in American boxing, which is illegal. But in martial arts, you're trying to survive. Or in Asian martial arts, oh Jesus. In karate specifically, it's made because you're trying to it's self-defense. It's for survival. Anyway, great suggestion. That's a lot of fun. 1984, okay. Tai Lung is supposed to be a drug addict in this movie. Good lord. Yeah, they're trained in Wushu. Or no, excuse me. They're not Wushu. They're trained in yes, Wushu. Performative like the performance version of martial arts. It's not to say it's not martial arts, but it's not designed for knocking people out or even harming them. It's designed for it's basically just performance athletics. It's like gymnastics. It's fucking difficult, incredibly physically taxing, and it requires coordination and a hell of a lot of trust in your dance partner. But yeah, it is kind of kung fu. So much fun though, honestly. Yeah, it's kung fu. It's not supposed to be depicting a real fight. It's supposed to be theatrical. Exactly. Yeah. Like, I think that's often lost in translation because there's so many fun, realistic fight scenes in movies that a lot of people watch this stuff where, like, they'll throw a punch and then they'll cut to a close up and the last 5 frames of the punch will be repeated for effect. And they'll think, well, that's them trying to do a real fight. No, that's them trying to do a performance that you'll enjoy. And like nobody ever was expected to think that claws actually, like, fingers actually become claws when a martial artist does them. Like, the Shaw Brothers or the actors who were filming that weren't thinking that the audience would go be like, "Oh, I wonder if that person could cut through wood or rubber with their finger." No, it was always known to be like, if I did this, and then digitally edit in an energy blast, I would assume you knew that it wasn't real. And in the same way, that's what those, especially those time period martial arts movies were supposed to be. Yeah, wushu is a broad term for all Chinese martial arts, but as a sport, it's more akin to a form of gymnastics. Yes, and there is a name. There is a name that I don't remember that means wushu for theater. And it's just very broadly. It's not that useful of a term, except to say that I was trying to say it earlier and it didn't come to mind. Wushu, but specifically for theater, has a name. I'm sorry, I don't recall what it is. I used to be a more proud fan, I suppose. The film was from oh my god, where kung fu is treated as a magic discipline. Yeah, I can't even pronounce. I'm sorry, gang. I had another question that I was gonna say. Ooh, was not all cops are bastards. But you know what? I feel like we had a good talk. I also feel like if you would like this show to continue, even though it will sometimes just become an hour of talking about martial arts films, do consider supporting me at patreon.com/WYCD. There, you will get things like random messages. You look, don't support it if you want more stuff. Support it if you think this stuff should continue. Because I want us to communicate with the right wing and stop them from being the right wing, if I'm frank with you. And also, I think, regardless of what your political alignment is, it just doesn't really matter these days. We need to save the world. I don't know how we're going to do it, but by God, we're going to try. And if you think that's worthwhile, consider supporting me at patreon.com/WYCD. Look at Foxy Dragon. I got a recipe. You know what I'm going to play for you right now? I'm going to play for you me enjoying that recipe, well intoxicated, when I thought maybe this will be a Patreon exclusive, the full video, but I will play for you something. This is me enjoying that recipe when I thought I had turned off recording, but actually I had hit the record button for the first time. I gotta pull it up. Yeah, taking a minute. I do want you to look with your eyeballs, though, and see this delicious thing. Yeah, not looking great. Yeah, but that is a husky gentleman sincerely enjoying rice with veggies after editing for like 2 hours and then try to record something. Yeah, you could have delicious recipes like that available if you join patreon.com/WYCD. Yeah, I was blitzed, and I was also fucking exhausted. That was not long. Well, I was blitzed from being exhausted, and then later I got proper drunk. But that was not long after. What do you call it? The stream, the late night stream. Anyway, patreon.com/wicked. This has been, yeah, it is good. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name is Jake. And this is Donald James X.